Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, welcome to Be My Guest. We have a nice sunny day out here. It's Thursday, February 25th. And we're still kind of going through the pandemic, but we're going slow but sure like turtles, but we're getting there. We have a guest today this is her first book, and she's also an artist as well as an author, and also, let me see, everything. Visual artist, designer. You went to college. Welcome, Maria C. Wheeler.
Thank you.
I get so involved in what I was reading. Her book is called Lost in the Circle, Found on the Line, a collaborative journal experience. This is fantastic. You actually can write in it. I didn't want to write in it because I didn't want to ruin it. How did you come up with this? It's like combining journalism with art.
Yes, so it was a process, as you can imagine. And I think my background as a visual artist, as well as a garden designer,
Yep.
as well as an ecologist, had a lot of different factors that went into assembling this book.
Right.
And I have been a writer for years. I'm a creative person.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's basically a compilation of notes and journaling. And my work kind of came together during the pandemic. And I was analyzing one day, and I knew I wanted to write a book, but I never knew. It's like a person that says, I always want to write a book, but you don't know what it's going to be about.
Right.
And so it just kind of happened. It was like the right time, right now, to coin a phrase, because I said, gee, what is the 2020? What is the meaning behind 2020? It's clarity of vision.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you follow it a little further, what does it really mean? It means like finding reality in hindsight, so looking back and finding out the truth. So I thought this is the time for this book to come out at this point.
Oh, definitely. I mean, are we talking loudly enough, Paul? Can you hear us both? Good. Okay. Sometimes we're so comfortable in here, we just kind of... The book itself is amazing. She takes us through 10 decades. It's the first decade is obviously till 10 years old, right?
Yes.
What made you think about using the decades?
Well, I thought oftentimes when you write or you think about something, it's always easier to compartmentalize. If you begin a story, I wrote a thesis, you ask questions and you put out, basically do an outline. So I organized it in terms of an outline. And it came to me that would be a good way to put down those master values that I feel are what people need to find in order to live their most energetic life, I want to say.
Well, I know you designed it. You did the drawings, right? You did the whole thing.
Yes, a couple of them are my kids' drawings are in there, a few of them. When they were quite young, they went to a Montessori school, and I had kept a few of the drawings and artwork, and they managed to find their way into that book.
I mean, there's a surprise almost like on every single decade you have.
Thank you.
There's a different art type of thing. All right, now let's go through. First of all, you are a graduate of the University of Maine.
Yes.
What did you major in?
Yes, wildlife management. And so basically I studied soils, I studied birds, I studied wildlife, all kinds of disciplines related to the natural sciences.
Right. You have a degree. You've been working for the wildlife ecology before working for the International Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies of Washington.
Yes, that was when I first graduated from college.
Yeah.
And I was living in Washington, D.C., and I worked for them for a few years before moving to Massachusetts.
Are you from Tiverton Ridge? Did you grow up there?
No, I grew up outside of Providence, in North Providence.
I used to live in Providence. What part were you in?
Right off of Mineral Spring Avenue, right off of Mineral Spring.
Is that North Providence?
Yes, in North Providence.
Okay, you know where Smith Street is?
Oh, yeah.
Up there. What's that? Providence College, PC, right?
Okay, that's where my dad went to school. Okay.
I remember it. I didn't live there long, but I do remember it very well. Now, we're going to talk about this wonderful book. You start off with the purpose. Who are you? Plan. Why are you here? And the process. How does this work? Why don't we start from it's up to you if you'd like to, but how do we start from the first decade, to be honest? Tell us more about that.
Okay. So basically, how I began writing this book is I started to think about what would be a major value of a person's life, or a major way of living their life during a certain time frame in your life. And I was actually thinking about photographs and how people memorialize or commemorate their lives going back in time. And so I thought from 1 to 10 seemed to be, a good way to break your life down into bite-sized pieces. And I thought, then I started to actually look at the words. What kind of words would describe that particular decade? And just listed word after word after word after word until the one that resonated with me felt true. Because there obviously are more than just 10 values or core values in a person's life. But what I tried to do was to put them in, get the essence of what I felt each of the decades meant. And then when in the opening page, I actually wrote them out to be a sentence. So on the very first cover page, it says, to be honest, which is the first decade, is to show effort, which is the second decade, to have integrity, the third, and so on, to be committed with sacrifice, tolerance, devotion, compassion, gratitude, and patience.
Now the 10th decade, I'll say 10 years old, it goes up to 90, right?
90 to 100.
90 to 100.
Yes.
And boy, people are living up there, let me tell you.
Certainly.
Oh, very
Yes.
much so.
Yeah.
So this has been how many years in the making?
It probably, well, I've always loved to write, so I would say 20 years, 25 years of journal. I mean, I have stacks of notebooks, and I found that as an artist, and a lot of people that are creative or even not, you get busy, you get distracted. So I had like papers everywhere and, little sheets. And so I felt like this would be a good way to not only organize my thoughts, but to help another person who really wanted to begin a journaling experience, help them out.
Definitely. I've never seen a journal. Well, anyway, this is Lost in the Circle, Found on the Line, a collaborative journal experience. And you can write in it. It looks like something so you wouldn't want to write in it, but you can. And each decade chapter. So.
And so the circle is a symbol for unity and strength of the world. So there are many symbolic things in this book. But mostly if you look at the circle, it's basically symbolizing connection. The front cover indicates a quote that I found that was actually dedicated to this Chief Seath. I think he lived in Seattle. And basically, I wrote this particular front cover was done when I was 17 or 18. So I just saved that artwork and used it as the front cover.
That's perfect. I mean, it really. How can people reach you? How can they get your book, Maria?
So I have a website. It's mariacwheeler.com//Lost in the Circle. And if you go to that, it's basically a web page. If you go to that, it shows all of my social media, Instagram account, Facebook, and also you can purchase the book through Amazon.
And also there'll be a copy here at the Upton Library as soon as they reopen. It'll be hopefully downstairs. I like it to be honest, and you say the ebb and flow of life has grasped my soul, playing with my heart, toying with my mind. If not for the sweet delight of surprise, of limitless love, I would gladly silently fade away. It just came to you.
So I have 10 poems that are original poems. And the idea behind these poems, if you notice, you open the page, like say if we go to, I happen to be open to the Patience, which is the very last chapter. And if you go it reads from right to left, so you open the book totally up and it goes from right to left.
Yep.
So if you read the right side, that is a poem in and of itself, and that poem is meant for you to add to it if you wish to. So read separately from the page on the left. But if you add them together, like if you read this is for patience number 10, with the clarity of a diamond, steely blue skies sharpen the senses and submit shrinking daylight into impending darkness. The stranglehold of life relentlessly, slowly, methodically releases its grip, fulfills its promise of beauty in the end.
Amazing. And people shouldn't be afraid to just write around it.
So the idea is to make this could be a legacy, and it's really like an act of love to yourself, and as a piece of artwork, it's a gift to yourself and the world. You could keep this as a keepsake for your family. You could use this as someone is struggling and they want to write through decades. I envision people being able to, because we have blank pages in here.
Yeah.
So basically, those years, say you get into year 70 to 80, and it says mobility is often at the forefront of the 8th decade, and years of living reflect compassion as a concern for the suffering of others. So basically, that is my little description of what that decade would be. So that's decade 8, compassion.
Yeah.
But the page is blank, so a person could either put, the idea was if you wanted to use it as a photo album, if you wanted to put a collage in there, if you wanted to paint, if you wanted to draw, if you just wanted to write. I'm thinking of this in terms of, it's more like my gift to the reader, and it's like a co-authored book.
Right.
I don't look at it as my book. It's a co-authored book.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And symbolizing connection, really, which is what I feel like the world really needs now moving forward.
I like it when you, which one was it? I think it was the end, on Patience. And James Taylor, there is only one road before us, thousands of turns in the way. This was a James Taylor. He's still with us.
Yes.
1940, he was born in 48.
Yes.
He's still around.
Yes. So I tried to, the idea behind it was to include various inspirational quotes from many different people. And it was hard to pick and choose, but I, like for instance, on decade 2, my daughter did this one. It's actually it was a paper quilt. And decade 2 is about showing effort, and the quote that I used was "How to Make an American Quilt." I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. There's also a book written by, it's phenomenal, written by Whitney Otto, and basically that quote is, "You have to choose your combinations carefully. The right choices will enhance the quilt. The wrong choices will dull the colors, hide their original beauty. There are no rules you can follow. You have to go by instinct, and you have to be brave." So basically, like, it's to take these quotes to see how they get you into the chapter, into the decade, and have that, use that as a jump start for you for your inspiration.
This your daughter actually chose.
She was young when she did that.
Did she do it, or did she pick up a print she saw?
No, this is an original.
Yeah. That is really. You're even quoting Amelia Earhart. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. I like that. That is really good. I mean, make the decision.
Right.
I know growing up, my mother finally, I would get so frustrated. She'd say, sometimes a decision is better than no decision at all. When her
Yes.
message was, go for it. If it doesn't work, fine.
You will never regret making the decision, but you will regret not acting on something.
Definitely. Don't put it off. Do it. If it doesn't stick, throw it at the wall.
That's right.
And it's not the right one for you.
Yes.
Now, do you have another book coming out? Another journal?
So I don't. This, like I said, it was years of writing this one. This came together, like I said, as a result of the pandemic. I have an idea for a series of little children's books. I've already started some little T-shirts.
Yeah.
But I will see how that goes. I'm going to do
I'll
a
bet
little at a
you
time.
said you were writing when you were a kid.
I
How
always
old were you
loved
when
to
you
write.
started?
Gee, probably 4th grade, maybe 5th grade. I always loved to write.
Drawing too?
And drawing.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's something about those of us who love to draw that how'd you do in math?
I was okay in math in high school, but then like when statistics came along, I mean,
Yeah.
in college and
Trigonometry?
calculus, I liked trigonometry because I did garden design, so I
Yeah.
was pretty good with that and in geometry.
Usually they say that those who are artsy and
Yes.
don't do as well in math. The math kids usually did not care much about English and art.
But the premise behind this book is that everyone is creative.
Yeah.
There are many vehicles for creativity, and I really believe it speaks to your highest sensibilities when you can tap in to that creativity. So I don't listen to people that say, I can't draw or I'm not creative.
Yeah.
It's really not true. And often if you silence yourself, and if you are inclined to figure out where you want to be in life and who you are, it sounds so esoteric to say those two questions. But they really are the essence of everything in life. Nothing else really matters. And once you discover that, you give the ultimate gift to yourself and the world, which is your special gift. Everybody has a special sauce.
Yep, definitely. I try to tell somebody, you know those beautiful art coloring books for adults
Yes.
and everything? I had a friend who said, well, I can't because I'll just end up coloring outside the lines. And I said, you know, in art, there are no rules.
Yeah.
I couldn't sink it in.
Yeah.
But she was so afraid of doing the wrong thing. Maria C. Wheeler, author of this wonderful book, Lost in the Circle, Found on the Line, a collaborative journal experience. And yes, you can write in it. She's got great sayings. It takes us through the 10 decades of life. Amazing. Have you ever been a counselor for people?
No, I
You
have now that my children.
It comes across.
Thank you.
Very thoughtful, that type of thing. Are you working besides authoring, or do you have another job?
So yes, I do garden design, and I am a designer. So I think part of the reason this also came together is as a designer, you know, you're asking yourself questions, you're looking at something two-dimensional, like a drawing, and then you're creating something from that, a three-dimensional something. So
This
there's many
idea-
layers to it.
This is years of ideas, right?
Yes.
So you would write them down as they came along. And it finally, when did this publish? When did they get it out there?
In November.
Okay, last November. Have you been able, I understand, I know a lot of my authors tell me, I can't go anywhere. I said, you still connect with them. Talk to them about when they reopen, get your name in. So
Yes.
they'll make sure that you are scheduled. Have you been anywhere to do presentations?
I have
concerns?
not. I have not.
Oh,
And I
this is-
would like to.
oh.
You know, I am in
Yeah.
the process of. I've contacted some independent bookstores across the country. I have a list of maybe 30 or 40 of them, and it's daunting to see how many have closed as a result of this pandemic. And I think just as a result of the way strip malls are and malls in general, people are buying a lot of things online.
Right.
But that
Right.
being said, my process is to just do like an old-fashioned way of sending out a book, introducing myself, and hopefully people. Because the other thing that is good about this is it's small enough that you can read it,
Yeah.
and you can take it, keep it by your bedside. You don't have to write in it if you don't want to, but it can be inspirational.
The way you set this up, like I've said, I've never seen a journal like this, and I love journals. Oh, I design them anyways for art, but this is very, it's very intellectual. It gets people thinking before they do something, and yet at the same time, you just want to just do what you feel like.
Exactly. Yes. Well, you know, and it comes, like I say, it just kind of, if you get into it, it will begin to make sense as to, you know, what you can add to it, or not.
I love this. The second decade of life reflects earnest activity and conscientiousness. We experience rapid growth in the development of logical thinking. We hope.
We hope.
Oh yeah, 10 to 20 years old. We experiment, curious, find ways to express creativity, spirited, sociable, boundless, eager, idealistic, unwavering, optimistic, headstrong, fiery, outrageous, vibrant, charismatic, vivacious, bold, and energetic. It is the spring of our lives. Raising your children, that helps you probably to see a lot. But I know, you raise them and you say, okay, he was different during this decade than he
Yes.
is now.
Yes. Well, and that's true. And I think this could be like a chronicle. You look back in your life and you realize at times it seems like it goes by so slowly
Mhm.
if you're in the throngs of something that's devastating. But then when you really look back, you realize just how quickly everything flies.
Just like that.
So I feel like this would be a great way to chronicle parts of your, or if you're struggling, or if you say, how did I get here? Let me think back, have a place to put those memories. I had to empty out a couple of homes. I called it my elder project, and between my two aunts and my parents' home
Right.
and my own home, I moved from Massachusetts to Rhode Island.
Mm.
And in doing that, I came across, as you can imagine, vestiges of things that people held dear to them, and things of the past, and a lot of photo albums that our kids don't have anymore.
Right.
So I thought, and I hated getting rid of photos, but how many can you keep? It's
That's my problem.
you
How many
know,
will
I
keep?
mean, you have to, and you get to a point, like I had to downsize, and I thought, so many things I wish to keep, but I'm unable to. It's making the tough decision. So I thought, well, this is great. You can put the photos that mean the most to you and
Oh,
put
yeah.
them in this
There's
book.
plenty of room.
For people that don't have photo albums anymore, or you want to keep that, of a time. I had my grandmother, and when I was 10, this is that picture from that period of my life.
You know what this would be great for, too? Authors will say, well, or I'll ask them, which age group do you want to hit? This, I can see you bringing these and do presentations at senior centers.
Yes.
What a great way they can celebrate themselves.
Yes.
I think this is wonderful. I would say, see if you agree, I would say young adult through seniors.
Yes. Well, the inspiration as well, it's one way, you read, and everything's been done before, as you know.
Right.
So the inspiration, I read this book by Philippe Weil, and it was called The Well of Being. And it was basically an adult children's book. And it was all about living your life to its fullest, with beautifully
Yeah.
illustrated photos and pictures. And it inspired me, and I thought, there are many ways to get your point across to a wide range of an audience.
Definitely.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And even projection. If somebody was in high school and they say,
Mhm.
okay, project myself, like where do I see myself as a 40-year-old? It would be funny to write in this,
Mhm.
and then look back when you are at that decade.
And also in college.
And in college, what did I write back then? Say you go on and you say, oh my God, when I was 20 years old, I said, when I'm 50, this is what I'm going to be like, or this is where I see myself. And whether it, aligns or not is another story.
Oh, I don't know. I can see another one coming for you. I think children's would be great, any age
Yeah.
with you. Do you have any idea what kind of children's book? Reality or fantasy?
So the thought was to make them simple readers. They're small books for the first-time reader,
Mhm.
where the child can, I'm thinking board books, so the child can hold the book themselves.
Yeah.
And I have already done a few T-shirts that would go along with the book. So
That's
that's the idea behind
Yeah.
it. I work very slowly, so we'll see when this actually happens.
I know we had one author who came on, and she gave me one of them. She had these little stuffed animals about the mouse that she did.
Oh.
And so I gave it to my husband. He's got it in his
Oh,
office.
that's so cute.
It's a great idea.
Yes.
And then also Steve Porter, we're very familiar with him. He's a great publisher out in Rhode Island. And every year in December, they have on the roads, what's it called? Something on the roads, artists, authors on the roads on the artists or something like that.
Oh.
It's in Cranston, I think.
Okay. Oh,
Every-
Roads on the Patuxent?
Roads on the Patuxent, yeah.
They do an artist,
Yeah.
the Rhode Island Authors
Authors on the Patuxent.
Studio, the Rhode Island Authors Seminar, I think. I just
Right.
joined it last year.
Oh, good,
so
because every December, of course, last December they couldn't. Let's hope they can
that's
this year.
right.
I mean, you walk into this huge.
It was virtual this year.
You
It's the
cannot
annual-
possibly. We went, and I couldn't possibly meet every single author. It
Wow.
was huge.
Yes.
I talked with one of the other authors there, and I said, I can't get to everybody, and I feel so bad. He said they feel overwhelmed too.
Yes.
I mean, they're boop, 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 and it's a great venue, but you are absolutely surrounded. It's overwhelming. It's
Wow.
great. But,
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
They did it virtually this year, and
They did
I
it.
was in the throngs of like beginning to try to market this, and I ended up not going online.
You didn't want to do it? Oh.
I should have, but it just seemed like a daunting task at the time to go on the Zoom and do all of that, so I didn't.
So we are talking again with Maria C. Wheeler. This is her first book. A very outstanding book for the first book. Lost in the Circle, Found on the Line, a collaborative journal experience. And one more time, Maria, how can they get a hold of this?
Thank you. Well, you can find me on my webpage, mariacwheeler.com/Lost in the Circle.
On the back, I love what she said. Talk to and about yourself. Give credence to invisible stories. Learn to connect the seemingly unconnectable dots. Recognize patterns in your life through writing and art. That is exactly where my way of thinking goes. You can combine your art. I do crazy, abstract. And you can see what you want in it.
That's
But
right.
it's fun.
Yes.
There were no rules. I had an art teacher in college. I didn't stick in her class very long. She had put, maybe you went through this too, Maria. She put, I don't know, a big chair or a plant up on a table and said, okay, everybody draw this. Well, I'm not super detailed when it comes, I don't like reality ones or just like a bowl of fruit. So in an abstract, I sort of got the idea across. She came over to me and she said,
Yeah.
is there something wrong with your eyes? Oh yeah. I never went back. That was it for me.
Wow.
I knew instinctively.
Well, the one word wrong should not have been in there, period.
Ooh.
Because art is meant to expand your horizons, and art is meant to, and it really is meant to have you think in a different realm, in a different plane.
It's an open thing. There are no rules. Even if, you just take one of those coloring books, and I design the abstract ones. If you take that and just whatever you feel like.
Yep. And if you're doodling or you're just sketching, and you have maybe a problem that you're trying to think through, oftentimes it's that activity of being in the moment that gets you to the solution, what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's relaxing. It's almost, I could sit there and do that type of art for hours.
Yes.
Is it a form of meditation, right?
Yes, and that is why with this book as well, if you do this, the idea is to get in touch with particular master values. So as you're going through that decade, you're thinking through the importance of that decade. So those all build on each other to make you the person that you are. I mean, that is everything.
Your family must be so proud. Your children read your, well, they're adults now, it's like my kid, but they read your book?
Yes.
And they liked it?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Are your mom and dad still alive?
My dad is not, but my mom is. And
did she read it?
Yeah, she can't see very well, so, and she's at St. Antoine's, the villa at St. Antoine's.
Where's
That's
that?
in assisted living in North Smithfield, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So when they open up, I plan to go and read it to her, bring it to her.
Do a presentation for all of them.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great idea. I'm glad you mentioned
That's
that.
one of the places I've sent my authors is there's the Mendon Senior Center. They're terrific. I mean, she had a book about the hard time she had growing up. And I thought, well, try it out, see how it goes. She sold 10, 20 books.
Wow.
She just got up there, she talked with them, and people forget that the seniors like those books too.
Yes,
and
that's
this
true.
is great. They can track back, back in time, keep their memory going, and writing, hand-eye coordination, drawing.
Their
you
photos.
hit every single button.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about a minute left. You're going to come back, I hope, when you start doing your children's books, right?
Thank you. I would love to.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Any
much.
idea when you might get that
No,
done?
I'm working on it, though.
You're working on it.
So we'll see.
Well,
I will be in touch and let you know.
Oh, yeah. Again, come over to the Upton Town Library when they're open. Or, what you can do now is you can actually call the library here in Upton, like a lot of them, and order. You could say that I'd like to borrow the book, which we'll have downstairs, whatever. And they'll wrap it up for you, and you can come get it. It's called curbside, but they have a room.
I noticed that.
That's
Yes,
another
it's a
way
great
to do it,
idea.
too.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe this is a first book. I have never seen one so great as this. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so
All
much
right,
for
we'll see you
having
next
me.
time.
Thank you.
Than it seems. Moving through the cloudless sky, heading out toward the moon. and dancing to the lunar tune. Life goes by so quickly, time just slips away.